Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are around the world. Thank you so much for joining us for the program today. I have to say that there has never been a more exciting time in history to be a leader. Of course, I probably will also admit that there is probably never been a more challenging time in history to be a leader, but I know that the leaders out there will not let that phase you, because amazing leaders like the ones that we have joining us on the program today thrive on challenge and see it as the opportunity that it really is. And I am excited to be joined by my counterpart, friend, and fellow leader, Dan Ray. I'll give him a shout out and a proper introduction in just a moment. But the reason why this is such an exciting time is because companies need confident leaders. They need confident leaders to guide teams and employees into this new world of work. And I hope that you agree that it is a new world of work. The clients and customers that Dan and I are routinely working with share with us that they feel that the way that we work together as teams, the way that we innovate, collaborate, the way we serve our customers has radically transformed in just a couple of short years. Some of you may have just rolled your eyes and said, what is he talking about? Short years. It's been a couple of long years, which we would also agree with that. But as the way that we work together evolves, it's become clear that the way that we develop and support our employees needs to evolve as well. And that's because today's employees have different needs, they have different expectations than they did just a few years ago. But when you, as a leader, recognize that and you respond in a way that ensures your employees know they are the heart of your company, you are supercharging the growth of your business. And that is what today is all about. It is about giving you 6 powerful tools that you can add to your leadership tool belt to supercharge your employee success. And I can't wait to share with you some of the key strategies that I have been sharing with clients over the last several years, strategies that I've developed from working with some of the most recognizable companies and brands in the world. And Dan he also has been working with lots of customers all around the world, and he's going to be sharing powerful tools as well. And to make proper introduction of this gentleman sitting right beside me in the virtual window, I would like to introduce one of the world's most recent valuable professionals, MVP, most valuable professionals, focused on office apps and services. He is a community leader. He is a community builder as well. He is extremely active in several communities, both networking as well as support groups. And he is also, he owns his own business. He is the founder and CEO of Dessa Enterprises that focuses on technical and end user training and business consulting to prepare your employees for modern work. I am pleased to welcome Mr. Dan Ray. Dan, how are you today?
Thanks so much, Mark. It's great to be back with you on these virtual events that we used to host on a pretty regular basis, but have taken a break because of different things going on in both our personal and professional lives.
Indeed.
And it is a extraordinary time to really think about leadership for either rebuilding brands, coming back to a brand or a company. I formed my company 5 years ago, went back to full-time employment a couple times during the last 5 years, but I'm focused again for the last year and a half on DESA Enterprises and training both from a technical and an end user perspective. And I just finished up a project doing functional training for HR and procurement type of work with a large healthcare manufacturer.
So without question, you're kind of in the trenches every day, and you're getting some fantastic insights as to what's going on across a variety of industries, of really how they are looking at adapting to the way that they need to develop and support their employees.
Yes, yes. And, Mark, you've been a keynoter, a two-time TEDx presenter, a sales consultant, a podcast host, and author of the international bestseller Invincible Success, Sell with Confidence, Lead with Purpose, and Speak with Impact. And that's all after our time as colleagues at a large tech company for
In
several years, right?
Indeed, yeah. You and I worked together side by side in both sales and technical sales for an extremely well-known organization.
Hmm.
If you that many people are familiar with or interacting with on a daily basis. And since then, you and I, as you said, not only are we kind of forging our own path, our own businesses, but at the same time, we have done, you mentioned it early on, we've done other video series together here on LinkedIn as well as YouTube and other channels. So it's great to be side by side with you again. Focus on helping leaders engage employees, making sure that they are creating high performance employees in today's world of work.
Yes, yes.
So what I want to share a quick story about a founder and CEO of a company that I was recently working with, and he's the CEO. His name is Dash. He's the CEO of a digital transformation firm out of Miami, and in our recent conversation together, he shared that he expects that redefining the human resources strategy within his company will, and this is a quote from him, be on his desk for at least the next 2 years. And what he was sharing with me is that he understands that there is a change going on in the way that we need to develop and support employees. And this was so important to him to get this right that even though the organization had well over 1,000 people and continuing to grow, that this was a top priority, that this was a CEO level priority to making sure that that employees feel valued and empowered and are doing their best work. And Dan, I know that in your work, you've worked recently with quite a few financial services firms, as well as healthcare customers. Most recently, why don't you share with us some of the change that you're seeing, the customers that you're working with when it comes to their employee success?
Yeah, the most recent project I was on, as I mentioned, was functional training for a company that was going through the transformation of a merger and acquisition type of process where they had, I guess, spun off a set of business to a joint venture and then were reclaiming that as the parent company, I think 7 years later. And, some of that change brings with it the ability to support that change with the why are things changing, and then the how of things changing. And even though it was the same technology that they were using on the back end, and for me it was new technology, it wasn't the technology stack that I typically support. it led to a lot of good and easy, for me, analogies, like going to a different store. We have stores in DeKalb, Illinois that have opened recently, supermarkets, and going in there, I might be able to buy the same types of things that we normally get from the deli or from the fruit and vegetable area, but I need to find where those areas are, and they might be different brands potentially. So landing some of that messaging, I think, was really key to this rebranding and this reacquisition, I guess, is one way of looking at it, of a large healthcare firm in the Chicagoland area.
Yeah, and I love the fact that that the organizations that you're working with are really looking at how they can leverage technology to really enhance the employee experience. I don't want to butcher a recent study, but I did recently see a study. I can't quite remember who it was from, but that over 65% of employees that were surveyed by this firm shared that they felt Qualtrics, that's who it was from. Yay, I'm so glad that I got that. That Qualtrics found that over 65% of the people that they surveyed said that innovative technology or supportive employee technology was going to be one of the key decisions that job seekers would use to figure out whether an organization was right for them. And so I love the perspective that the organizations that you're working with are looking at how they can leverage technology to really help their employees be more effective.
And it's not like information is hard to get. It's hard to sometimes find, right? So searching for that information, you've seen it, to your point, I know I read this, I'm trying to recall all the details, but sometimes the searching or the accessing that information becomes the challenge these days, not the lack of information.
Yeah. We see what happens when we have to rely on my brain to try to do the search, to do the recall. And so it is very important that we have capabilities within the organization that sometimes work a little better than this, but pulled it out in the end. So let me share a little, now that we've shared a little context for today, let's just real quickly talk about how the flow is going to go. As we said up front, as you see the title of the program, Dan and I are going to be sharing 6 tools that leaders can immediately put to use. I'm going to share the first 3 based on strategies that I use within the organizations that I'm working with. And then Dan will bring us home strong with the final 3. And our hope is that whether you lead a team of 1 or 10 or 10,000, that you're going to be able to immediately grab at least 1 or 2 or maybe 6 of these tools that will help you feel more confident, more connected to your team. And again, this is all around helping supercharge your employee success. Along the way, if you have questions, feedback, comments, success stories to share that you have been using, please utilize chats. If you're watching this after the fact, drop it in the comments section. We'd love to be able to continue the conversation and respond back to you. We'd love to be able to answer questions as well as make sure that you're getting the most value out of the program, because that's what it is all about. So with that, I hope everybody is ready to go. I'll get started with the first 3 tools. Oh, when I speak with clients, I focus on what I call the engaged employee experience. And for me, when I'm working with clients, I focus on 4 key pillars of that engaged employee experience. And as you see in the diagram here, those are vision, voice, value, and then finally impact. You put those together to make sure that that employee is having the most impact and you are having the most impact with them as a leader. I'm not specifically focusing on those key pillars today. Instead, I'm going to kind of do a double click. I'm going to click down, and it may be a little small to read on the slide there, but I want to focus instead on the outcomes of these pillars. And that is really around leveraging, like what sort of traits or outcomes do we want to bring out by better engaging our employees. And those are really the three outcomes that we're going to be focusing on is communicate, collaborate, and create. Let me jump ahead. Communicate, collaborate, and create. So I have one tool for each of these three outcomes that we're going to focus on, and to help your to improve communications, to improve collaborations, and creation or innovation. Let's start with the first one. So when it comes to this new world of work, communication really is at risk of getting minimized. And that's why the first tool in many of the organizations that I'm working with is really focusing on increasing meaningful interactions. And hearing that, your first thought may be, well, that's silly. I interact with my employees all the time. But I'm not talking about just needing to talk to them more. I don't mean having more conversations. I want to increase the meaningfulness of those interactions. And that's why, because nowadays, think about it, we are interacting more, but much of what we do is nowadays it's via text messages or instant messages, email. There may be workspace chat like Slack or Microsoft Teams. And in a hybrid workplace, oftentimes real conversations are relegated down to just monthly one-on-ones. And that's really why I want to focus on improving the not only having more interactions, but making them more meaningful. And most specifically, I just want you to remember, it kind of comes down to a key thing that I always encourage every leader to remember is that as a leader, I hope that you routinely remind yourself that it's about them. We hope that you remember all 6 tools that we're going to share today. But if you're like me and have memory issues, and it comes down to just a few things for you to remember, I hope that this is at least one of them, is that your role as a leader is really about your employees. It's about serving and bringing out the best in your employees. And that's why I encourage you to, as the specific action item, or the specific tool, is to set up weekly, or at the very least bi-weekly, phone calls and video calls where you can actually either look that employee in the eye or at least have a meaningful conversation with them to ask them how they are doing. Not just talk about where a customer is at in a sales cycle, not asking for a project update or to go over the latest in a marketing campaign, but to talk about them as individuals and how they are feeling, not only themselves, but as part of the organization. And the it almost, I'm sure many leaders would be hearing this and say, of course, I got to get to know people. But sometimes what seemingly is one of the most simple things and known things are often the things that are most overlooked. And this is especially important with newer people and folks earlier in their career, but it certainly should not be ignored, no matter how old the employee is or how long they've been working on your team. Make sure that you're having conversations that are just specifically about them. So you sure still should have those one-on-ones and make sure that things are moving along the way that they should be. But I really encourage you to make a point to add meaningful interactions with them that are beyond simple goals and customers, but really about people themselves. Because the focus of the tools that Dan and I are sharing is really bringing out the best in your people so that they want to continue to work for your organization. They want to feel empowered, they want to feel valued, and they want to know that they're working for somebody that genuinely cares about them. That certainly makes them far less likely to look for other opportunities. So that's tool number one. So moving on to the next outcome, which is really around driving collaboration. I encourage, when I'm working with my customers, we want to help employees feel a part of a team and feel aligned to the organization. So, and that's because if I, as an employee, know how my work impacts others, I am far more likely to be motivated to do my best work. So the second tool I encourage you to use is set aligned goals. And again, this may be something your first thought may be, of course, I give my employees goals, but my strategy is for you to enhance what you may already be doing by ensuring that your team members know exactly how their individual goals align with the team, with the extended team, and with the organization itself. So really focus in on that word aligned. Again, as study after study shows that younger workers, people that are that have more recently come into the workforce and are making up a larger and larger percentage of the workforce, they want to understand how their work aligns with the organization itself. And I think that some leaders that may be what I've found, leaders that have been in their career for some time are more used to, well, I give a series of tasks or we have a set of processes associated with what we do, and that's how we are successful. And so as long as you follow this set of processes, then you're going to achieve the outcome that the goals that we have set for you. So instead, I encourage you to kind of push it a little farther and make sure that that particular employee understands the alignment with the organization, with the extended team. And in the spirit of collaboration, I also often will encourage leaders to help their employees come up with shared goals together. Push that employee to find goals that they feel are aligned with the extended team and with the organization, and equally importantly, their own personal goals. How do they want to grow? Do they want to grow in role, or do they want to grow to another team within the organization? And even do they want to grow so that they have an opportunity to work their way into another organization? We certainly, I encourage leaders to support that as well. So are there teams that they traditionally don't work with, or your team doesn't work with today, can they find collaborative ways to work together? So, or look at partners and things like that. So that is tool number 2, is really make sure that you're working with your employees to set aligned goals so that they understand how their contributions impact the growth of the organization. And with that, you'll be well on your way to supercharging their success. And then the last tool that I will share is reward creativity. Now, in a moment, Dan's going to focus on the reward part of it. So, going to focus on ways in which you can think about rewarding employee contributions. But I'll focus a little more on the creativity side. Without question, today, creativity and innovation is more crucial to your organization's success than before. And that's because so much of what a business is doing, or the processes, its services, tools that they're creating, more and more are being outsourced, they're being automated, entire processes are being streamlined through use of such things as artificial intelligence or AI. Competitors are popping up all the time, giving customers other options, which means that a key or 2 key differentiators for your company will come down to relationships and creativity or innovation. So I encourage customers to specifically incentivize and reward employees on creativities, to find ways of serving your customers or improving processes that are new and innovative. Because change is happening too quickly in the marketplace to allow team members to simply do what's traditionally been done within your organization for many years. So create specific incentives. And an example of this is I worked specifically with a client last fall on the engaged employee experience. And from our work together, they created a quarterly creativity award. And I recently spoke with the leader that I had worked with, and they shared with me that not only had they gotten several new solutions that were helping speed up their sales process, but they also shared that employees were actually almost gamifying. They were pushing each other to try to get that creativity award. So they themselves are having fun with it. In addition, a recent survey by Pew Research found that of the 41 million people that left their jobs in 2021, 57% say they left because they didn't feel valued or respected. So think about it. What better way to make your team members feel valued than to value their unique and creative solutions? Not just valued because you did the thing that has always been done, but instead feel valued because you were unique or you offered something that has never been offered before. So there you have it. The first 3 tools to supercharge your employee success is increase your meaningful interactions with those employees, set aligned goals, and reward creativity. So now I will turn things over to the talented and brilliant Dan Ray to share with us the final 3 powerful tools.
Thanks, Mark. One thing that I have realized is that retention of employees is super, super important. We've just gone through the great resignation, and we've seen a lot of employees reprioritize things that might be out of our control as leaders. I know the first time I left at Microsoft, I was grappling with a number of situations that had nothing to do with my employer. My mother was suffering from Alzheimer's disease and was at a point where we weren't sure how many years she would have left, either in life or in recognizing her loved ones. And it seemed to me like a shame to prioritize my job and career over my mother who had raised me. And so one of the factors was that family came first for me. And that was the first time I left Microsoft. The second time that I came back to Microsoft was a separate set of circumstances that were afforded to me because Microsoft did a great job of not only retaining employees, but re engaging those employees that might have decided to leave for one reason or another. That might be a promotion, that might be a unique opportunity, that might be a personal circumstance that is temporary in their life. But if you look at different things that Microsoft has done with the Viva employee experience platform, one of those capabilities is Glint, and getting information about your employees and what they feel about working in your organization for your organization. And as part of leaving Microsoft in 2016, Microsoft extended the Microsoft Alumni Network to me as a former employee. And I was working with the Microsoft Alumni Network in a couple years after leaving to form a Chicago chapter of a alumni uh, club for Microsoft former employees. Lo and behold, I decided that a opportunity that had presented itself to retain employees or recapture employees had been presented to me. And I decided I would go back to Microsoft full time in a technical sales role, support role. And so when you think about that opportunity, not only retention of employees, but maybe recapturing of previous employees are super important things to think about from a leadership perspective. Who are those people that were valued contributors to either your team or your organization? And why or where have they gone? What other experiences do they bring as returning employees? Microsoft Alumni Network has a number of studies about how many former Microsofties have come back to the company. They refer to them as boomerangs. So that retention and recapturing would be my first of my three employee essentials. The other would be recognition of your people. Recognizing people is one thing as a leader that is put squarely in your capabilities as a leader. It doesn't require a budget. It doesn't require a formal opportunity to give financial incentives, but recognition for many employees feels maybe more important than that new title or that bonus or raise. As we've reevaluated through the Great Resignation, what's important to us, for many, recognition and flexibility might be more important than the traditional bonus time, those types of things. And that's going to be different for where a employee sits within your organization, what kind of tenure they have, what kind of personal situations they are dealing with. But recognition is within your capability as a leader. If your company uses Microsoft Teams or Yammer, there are some great ways to do recognition right from the tools that you have at your disposal. The project that I was just on, monthly, the extended team did recognition of other team members formally at the team meeting, with probably 50 or so team members on a call with each other and virtually. But another way you could do this, besides within your company, using whatever tools you choose or your company utilizes, is through things like LinkedIn. LinkedIn, which is also owned by Microsoft, has the capabilities of giving kudos to either an individual person or multiple people on a team. And imagine how good that feels when not only are you recognized, but maybe that recognition is public. It's not just within the confines of your department, your division, or even your organization. Sometimes these types of things as leaders are either as important or more important to your employees than the more traditional evaluations, raises. So recognition would be my second one. And as Mark indicated, the third would be that reward, and potentially the financial rewards, the review that your employee receives, and the feedback that they get. And hopefully they're getting feedback besides that annual or every 6 months, every 3 month check-in that you have with them from a employee relationship. Rewarding your employees can also take those financial and incentive categories. Microsoft just announced that they have over doubled the pool of money that will be available for employee recognition and reward, financial rewards. But just like when we talked about recognition, these don't necessarily have to be mutually exclusive. I remember early on in my career, the company that my wife still works for, that I work with her in the same division but department, had a employee of the month program. That are between recognition of being declared the employee of the month, a reward because there was a financial incentive tied to that recognition. And I believe at the time it was a gift card and something that was maybe more valued because we were living paycheck to paycheck early on in those jobs, but the recognition felt great as well. So maybe in thinking about ways to combine recognizing your employees, your team, your group, but also rewarding them in ways that either the company provides or creative ways that you have at your disposal. My wife's company now also has a opportunity for people to take a flex day. And that program was around years ago when I worked there with her, where we had an opportunity to make up hours and take a flexible day without going into our vacation balance. And it gave us the opportunity to schedule things that I might need to do, just have a day to relax and unwind, and not feel like I had to do that trade off of, well, how am I using my vacation days? And at the time, people that started at that company only had 2 weeks vacation. Many corporations now have unlimited vacation or different ways to think about the recognition and reward piece of the puzzle with employees. And so those are my 3 items for this session. Retaining the employees that you already have, thinking about how you can recognize your employees, and then also how do you reward employees that you have at your company. And Mark, I can turn things back over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. Thanks for going through each of those. And just a recap, put them all together. The 6 tools to supercharge employee success is increase meaningful interactions, set aligned goals, reward creativity, retain, re-engage, recapture, and recapture. It's not showing up on the slide there, but it's there. There's space for it. Recognize and reward. So it's a little theater of the mind for you to add the word recapture in there. So those 6 powerful tools, and there we go. How about that? When employees have vision, know that they have a voice and they feel valued, and they feel that their work matters, they lean in, they contribute more to a company's success. And in that way, engaged employees are more likely to think creatively. They increase innovation, and leaders. Dan and I are working with leaders today that are managing a combination of teams, whether they're in the office, they're remote, they have half and half, so some type of hybrid. And it's important that those leaders and the team members themselves continue to look for new ways to work together to solve challenges. And when that happens, employees that are feeling empowered and valued are more likely to stay with the company, which helps drive company culture. It continues to attract the best talent. And so we encourage each and every one of you to use these 6 tools to help your employees reach their peak potential. And with that, there we go, the closing. Dan, no doubt this was just a teaser of some of the work that you routinely do with your customers. If folks are interested, they want to know more about some of the, not only this work that you do, but in addition to some of the technical training, the business consulting that you do, what are the best ways for them to get in touch with you?
Yeah, so DESA Enterprises, my company, is on LinkedIn. So linkedin.com/company/DESA Enterprises will take you to our page. This event was hosted on LinkedIn Live, both on your profile, Mark, my profile, and DESA Enterprises profile. So you can find us there. And production of these types of events is something else that we do besides the technical, administrative, behind the scenes training, and then the end user. And recently I've just added the functional training for teams, explaining the why of why change has come to the organization or the group.
Fantastic. And the types of programs that I typically do really around getting the most of every communication and interaction, both from a sales perspective with your customer. So I work a lot with sales directors, VPs of sales to bring programs to their organization, as well as work with a lot of leaders specifically on bringing the same types of things for their employees to help employees today and in this new marketplace be the highest performing employees that we can have. Most importantly, to want to stay with the organization. Talent retention is such an important thing to leaders today, as well as making sure that we're getting the most value and those employees feel that they're having the most impact possible with the organization. So that's what I focus on. If folks are interested in hearing more about the programs, then one of the best ways is to reach out to me on LinkedIn. Just send me a private message on LinkedIn at Mark Steele. Company name is Peak Performance, as well as you can always send me a direct email, mark@marksteele.com. So I really, Dan, this is always a lot of fun working with you, and I appreciate the opportunity to work together with you. Any closing comments before we wrap?
Yeah, this has been an event we've been talking about for a while, and I'm glad we've had an opportunity to collaborate again, and think about ways that either our gifts can be combined, or how we can work with organizations, both from the sales and the leadership perspective, as well as the frontline workers that they have. So. I'm sure there are other ways that we can combine our efforts with organizations of any size, either within Chicagoland or around the world, really around the globe now too.
For sure. So I encourage each and every one of you to use these 6 tools, add them to your leadership tool belt. Make sure that you're helping your employees reach their peak potential. If you have any questions, reach out to either Dan or myself. We would love to have a conversation. And until we meet again, Dan and I wish you all the best of success.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care.
Let me bring up our ending.